Hey there, hey there. This is Pam Perry. So we are here with another Speakers Magazine reveal, and we have the cover guy that is going to be our guest today, Troy James. Yes, there he is. And this month is Financial Literacy Month, but it's really about faith and focus and really getting your mind right and then really having everything the word this year was in alignment. So we're going to talk about getting in alignment. He is a Harvard certified executive leadership coach. So let me say that again, Harvard certified executive leadership coach. But it's not just theory. He's going to give you the behind the scenes story of why he made this pivot from corporate till now. So right after this little music bed, we're going to bring up Troy James. Hey there, hey there. There is Troy James. How are you, sir?
Pam, I am fine. It is great to see you again today. And thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation with you.
This is good. I am so glad because I want to dig in deep. I know you have a book and people can get the book, but I want to go in a little bit about where faith at the intersections, how that came about. And then we're going to go into your framework. So people can read the magazine. And one of the things that they talk about the story behind where this came from. And I really want you to go into the Pathfinder method. But before we get into the Pathfinder method, that is something that I want people to really understand what the pivots were that caused you to really do your own pivot. So kind of give us a little backstory about that.
Yeah, sure. So again, thanks a lot. Right. So I am at heart a leadership strategist, right? And as you know, the founder of Valora, which is a consulting platform, and operate at the intersection of identity and transition. So I work with individuals, executive teams, mission-driven institutions that are navigating disruption, right? Visible responsibility and the all too common cultural strain, right? Both within and beyond the
So,
formal power structures, right? So
so,
so that's
so
that's my background. Yeah.
right. So I want you to break that down. That's so much Harvard. Okay. Like
Right.
this is a Saturday morning.
Right.
And I
Okay.
want to like break it down. Like what does the structure, the culture, this kind of thing. So break it down to say a fifth grader. Okay. Let's just say let's break it down to a fifth grader, what that really means.
Okay, great. So when I say I build leadership formation architecture, right, for executive leaders who are successful on the outside, right, but misaligned on the inside.
There you
Right?
go.
You're hitting home runs, but you're feeling burned out,
Mhm.
right? And through the Pathfinder method, right, which I'll tell you a little bit about, right, I help them separate identity from performance, so
Mhm.
that so that they can lead with clarity under pressure,
So
right?
it's not really so much about who they are, or it's not so much about what they do, but who they are on the inside. So if let's just say a doctor quits being a doctor, there's still a different person on the inside that before the medical degrees and all of the accolades, who are they on the inside? And
Yeah.
so many people, especially today, have had jobs stripped away from them. I know one particular PR colleague has been really stressed with her business and she's been looking for a job and she has the utmost skills. And she said she's been looking for about 7 months hard, not finding anything. And at a certain point in time, it's like, who am I really? Like this, what I do she's married, got kids, family, but it can feel a little disheartening when you're trying to be judged on what you do and not necessarily who you are. And I want you to kind of dig into that and where people really have an epiphany, especially now in this economic times where a lot of people, especially a lot of African American women, almost like over a quarter of a million have lost jobs since the new administration came in. So, what do you say to people who their identity and their purpose and what they do is not in alignment, and they feel a certain way, but they look at reality also?
Yeah, and I felt it was important for me to give this background before even jumping into the book, because I recognize that there are so many people struggling with identity right now. And based on what you said, right, when over 300,000 Black women get impacted at one time, then everyone is impacted in our community, right? One way or another, we know someone that have been touched. So most high performing leaders, right, no matter what your role is, we're all trained to measure our value by outcomes, right? If you made good grades, then you learned early, you're going to get complimented for your good grades. If you hit home runs, then you learned early, you're going to get complimented for your home runs. Well, when that happens, under pressure, your identity begins to fuse with performance, right? And when that happens, when results fluctuate, then stability fluctuates, right? Internal alignment separates who you are from what you produce.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, leadership stays stable under pressure instead of becoming reactive to results. So that way, if you're that leader that has been impacted, right? If you've lost the job to no fault of your own, right? To no fault of your own, then you're gonna struggle, because you've always equated your identity with your outcomes and your performance. And that's not who you are internally, right? Your identity is based on that same person who had all these dreams, all these goals, all these ideals before corporate America said that you weren't enough. Or before corporate America said you need to do it this way, and we will tell you what your value is. Right? No one else should be able to tell you what your value is. That should be an internal thing, right? That you find that you align with, that helps you drive forward, that helps you understand how you impact the world, that helps you understand why, whether you're a mom, whether you are the CEO, whether you're singing in the choir, you can have all three of those roles, right? But how do you align with your own personal identity as you're trying to serve all those different spaces, right? And I think that's where we get lost sometimes.
I think when and maybe it's different for male and female, maybe that's it. But when I was beginning to choose a career, looking in high school, looking at my skills, but then I also wanted to make an impact. So it wasn't always about, oh, let's just make some money. You could be a lawyer, doctor, that kind of thing. I never really was going after money. I went after what was my gifting and what I was passionate about. And versus my husband, he was like, I want to just I want a good job. I want to be good at it, but I'm going to get the skills so I can get this quote unquote good job working in automotive. From Detroit, working in automotive industry. I have no interest in cars. I drive them. That's about it. So I really went into marketing and storytelling. They call it now journalism. But I really want to tell stories for organizations like nonprofits that were making a difference. Now, did I make a whole lot of money? No, but it was in alignment with what I felt was important to me. It was in alignment with my values. Not everybody can really do that, or not. I don't know what that was about me that really decided to do that. And I find so many other people that like, oh, I want to be a CPA, and they hate numbers, but they make good money. Or I want to do, be a skilled trade. They're good at it, but they really hate, the type of work. So, but in alignment, if you're in corporate, it's like, especially if you're in sales, you're only as good as your last sale, or you're only as good as your last objective that you achieve. And at a certain point in time, it can beat you up because you're not really in alignment with that. And so the Pathfinder, I find that when you created this system based on the different things, that's really important. And it really should have been something that we did or teach really in high school. Like, this is, you're going to spend, majority of your life working in a career. Don't let it be something that you hate or something that you despise or something that wears on your psyche and make you feel less than because you're not performing at a certain level. And I find that, well, your career has been in like HR kind of thing. Most people really hate their jobs, and it's because they were out of alignment. So,
Yeah.
talk about your epiphany that you had when you realized this.
Yeah. Well, from what you described, my life isn't much different than that. All right. My high school counselor didn't say, Troy, these are your skills, these are your gifts. Right. But I did see all the different occupations that made money. Right. And I just knew, right. I grew up in the 80s, right. I graduated high school in the 80s. So I wanted to have a job that made money. It had, and let me tell you something. I couldn't add to save my life, but I just knew I could be a doctor, right? And it's like, yeah, if you can't add, you might have problems with some of those courses, right? Because I was looking at the end goal instead of looking at the journey and the steps that it would take for me to get there, right? So I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to act. There are a lot of things that I wanted to. I wanted to do motivational speaking, right? Along the way of getting out of college, right? No, say getting out, like getting out. So it's almost like I was set free. Finding a job, finding a role. What happened is you forget about the things you love to do, and you start doing the things you feel like you have to do to be successful or to survive.
Yeah.
Right. And society kind of, says, hey, if you're going to get married, you need to, if you're a male, you're going to get married and you're going to have kids, you need to be able to do all these things. Right. And let's say you grew up in a household with successful parents. You looked at what made your parents successful because maybe you weren't in those bedroom conversations that they were having. So you decided, well, I need to have a job like this, or I need to pick a wife like this, right? If you're a man, or if you want to pick, I need to pick a spouse this way. So you go on about making decisions based on these learned behaviors that you have along the way, and you try to replicate what you've seen and what you lived. And along the way, you recognize that, well, this replication thing, I'm not happy in it, right? Because I forgot that I like to write. I forgot that I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I forgot that I like service, right? And in my 20 years of working with Starbucks, and I learned that I love service, right? I created the All-In program with Starbucks, which is we touched 145,000 lives in 83 cities over 4 years. Huge impact, right? Where corporate partners got together with nonprofits, and we gave away backpacks every July through August for 4.5 years, growing every year, touching lives. Yeah, meeting people at the intersection of needing hope, empowerment, and agency. I forgot how much I loved it, right? Until I started doing that.
Yeah.
And then once you start doing it, you realize that there's a challenge sometimes to doing it. Right. And what you thought would be the greatest thing isn't always the greatest thing when your joy gets stolen, because, when you're really trying to create something, and not everyone can see your vision, you have your own push and pull. Right. I dealt with my own issues of who I wanted to be, and the imposter syndrome of being in rooms where I didn't feel like I should have been in there, even though I was fully capable. And
one of the things that you said that you didn't really realize how much you loved it, or what you missed, or something that just lit you up. And I think I grew up in a household where my mother was a homemaker, and my dad was a mailman. And it's not like he grew up and said he grew up in the Depression, so really just getting a good government job was the goal. That was the thing. Because his parents before that were sharecroppers. Okay. So then he got these kids, and my dad graduated from high school, went a few years to college, and then he got a good government job working as a mailman, and he retired doing that. Did he love it? I don't think he hated it, because he kind of had a little bit of autonomy. His route as a mailman happened to be the neighborhood that he grew up in. So that helped, because they knew him. So when he finished his route early, they would invite him in for coffee or snacks, or, they always knew him. Christmas time, I just remember how much love they had for him as a mailman. They would give him like gifts and money. And I'm like, wow, but he just, I think he was the type of person that was appreciative in anything. And it had to do with the timing. Again, being a African American man growing up in 1930, and then, beginning to work and before civil rights. So he loved what he did because he had respect for that job and people respected him, and he
Yeah.
had value. People saw the value in that. Now, on the weekend, he was involved in other things that lit him up. Obviously, he was involved in church and that kind of thing. But I remember, Troy, when I knew that something was different that I needed to do. I was working at the Free Press, my first job out of college, great training ground, but I wasn't really in love with that. What I did love was the things that I did on the weekend or after work, which was the volunteer service things. It was National Association of Black Journalists. I started an organization called Blacks in Advertising, Radio, and Television. We were giving scholarships. We were all those things. So I would run from work and go do these volunteer things that really lit me up. And I realized that I was getting sponsors. We had like 1,000 kids that we were mentoring and that kind. I said, to go into advertising, radio, and television. Those were the things. And I said, you know what? If I'm gonna I spent 7 years at the Free Press. I'm gonna spend all this time, 8 hours a day doing a job that I'm just like kind of lukewarm about, but I'm lit up for the other stuff. I said, why don't I find a job? This is what my thing is, that lights me up all the time. And that's when I sought out jobs that were in the nonprofit realm, that, again, like you, with service, things that really lit me up. And so that's where the career kind of started for me, in terms of like storytelling and helping people like yourself that are authors, helping them tell their story. Now, you could do PR for anything. We could do PR for hot dogs, books, cars, doesn't matter. But I chose this. And that's when that alignment is. But it's only when I didn't have a mentor, but it was just an epiphany. I guess you would say it was the Holy Spirit that says, you know what, this is where you need to be. But if you don't have that, you can't take the time to really have that, or you feel like it's too late. That's where your Pathfinder program or assessment really helps, because you need to get back on the right path, I guess you would say. Get on the right path.
Yeah, absolutely it does, right? I don't want to discount the 20 plus years of work that I did with Starbucks. I enjoyed it. I grew. It gave me the opportunity to sit here with you, right? I learned more than I ever thought I would have imagined as I climbed the corporate ladder. I had multiple successes, but and
God doesn't waste anything. He really doesn't. I mean, he's going to reach back and say, all that experience you had there, you're going to use it up here, but just in a different way. Yeah.
Right. And I had some fantastic leaders that sewed into me and gave me hope and gave me agency and empowered me to be who I felt I needed to be for my purpose. But I didn't know how to articulate my purpose. And as I look back over my career, I looked at spaces where, when I lived into my purpose, whether it was working with the ERGs, right, the employee resource groups, or was doing the community work, everything that empowered people to have agency, that's where I found joy in addition to my role, right? So it even helped me in my role because, man, I was having so much fun fulfilling who I was created to be, that it allowed me to achieve on my job that I don't think I could have if I wasn't as engaged as I was in all the other places. And I had leaders that supported that work. So writing the book Faith at the Intersections was really about my growth over the 20 years in places where I felt like I was aligned spiritually. I thought I knew I could see God's hand in my life working, and move me from place to place. But then I would hit a space where, like Jay-Z said, it was all good just a week ago, right? I'm just going along, and then pow, and I would run into a wall, right? And it could be because of someone else, it could be because of a family member, it could be multiple issues, but they're the kind of issues that stop you in your tracks.
Yeah.
And that's where God was trying to help me to notice. Help me to notice what is going on. So from that journey, I wrote the book. And then from writing the book, I realized that Faith at the Intersection is really the spiritual formation of the psychological insights that built Pathfinders, right?
Mm.
And Pathfinder is truly the method in the process of helping leaders move from a performance-driven leadership to formation-driven leadership, right? From performance to formation. So now we're working from an organic place of why you love to do the job, because
Yeah.
now you're remembering what your skill sets are, right?
We've
Now
got
you remember what your purpose is, right?
we've
And now
got
you're able to move that forward. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. We've got Brian J. Oles, who is the founder of Black Speakers Network. And he's saying this is an outstanding conversation. He's not going to come on, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about Brian. Brian was working in a job that he loved. And but he also was starting Black Speakers Network on the side. It became such a passion project for him that it grew to from maybe 100 people, 1,000 people to now like 14, 15,000 people that are part of Black Speakers Network. He was touching all those lives. And eventually, I want to say it's been 5 years, if not 6 years, where he left his job and now he runs Black Speakers Network full time as an entrepreneur. But it was something that just that was in him all the time, but he walked in it slowly. You know, he was doing this job, but he didn't just like quit his job. It's like, you know what, I think I'm gonna do this Black Speaker thing and I'm gonna leave tomorrow. It took some time. Brian, how long did it take for you to actually like make the transition? And now it's his mission, it's his calling. When people see Brian J. Oles, it's like, oh, it's the guy with Black Speakers Network. But it started because he has a way of seeing things to organize it. That was what he was doing on this job.
Mm-hmm.
But he also has a way to connect people together that really, for speaking, he himself was afraid of speaking and he was good at Toastmasters, but he realized that he can put it all together. And he had some mentors and things that kind of pulled it out of him as well. So Brian is now walking in his full purpose, and it's growing. It's always gonna. It's a path. You don't say like it's a journey. We're always evolving. So that's one of the things I just want to say. Thank you, Brian, for joining us today. And he's also saying congratulations on your success of being in Speakers Magazine and that kind of thing. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian, for really walking in your purpose. Listen, if Brian didn't walk in his purpose, we wouldn't be here right now. Okay. Part of it. We wouldn't be here on his platform as well, because we're on his channel as well as our channel in Speakers Magazine. So we're the official magazine for Black Speakers Network, and met him just by doing BSN. If he didn't do BSN, wouldn't have met Brian.
But you know what, Pam, I don't want to assume anything about Brian, but just having done this work, I bet when he looks back over his career, he was always a connector and a strategist, right? That probably informed his success. And often we don't have an opportunity to name what our skill sets are. And when you don't name what your skill sets are, you just kind of wander from place to place, right? Oh, I'm just doing this, I'm just doing that because I can't speak to what I do best. I just kind of do it, right? And in Pathfinder, we ask people to slow down. Hey, let's slow down. Let's talk about what made you great. Let's talk about what makes you great, despite the results. And let's settle in that gifting, right? And then you can kind of look back and say, I've always been good at that. Well, that's the gift that God gave you. I've always found joy in making people happy through these gifts. Well, that's what God has given you to bring forward to other people. That's the purpose-driven work.
That's the purpose. Right?
That's the purpose-driven work. And Pam, you were fortunate to know early what your purpose was and to live into it. Some of us run so much and so fast, right? My parents and I've been running since I was 6 months old, and I haven't stopped yet, right? Until we trip and then we trip and fall, and we get up and we try to catch our breath. And we're fortunate enough to have someone to pick us up and say, "Hey, let's catch our breaths for a minute. Yeah. Where are you running to? Why are you running that way? Is this what you want to do, or somebody tell you to run that way?" Right? Let's talk about what your plans are, what your purposes are. What have you always wanted to do that's set on the back shelf because you were doing something for other people?
Ooh, do not let that. The older I get, the more I said, I want to live a life where I maybe made mistakes and I learned from them versus living a life of regrets of something that I wish I would have did. I never want to be that person. I wish I would have.
We stumble into that, right? We stumble into it. It's seldom intentional, right? It could be when I think about the 300,000 women, right, and I come back to that because of the role that Black women have always played in our culture, right? Always filling the space of what needed to happen, always doing the thing that needed to happen, and then getting impacted in a way that they didn't ask for it. Talk about faith at the intersections, right? I did everything they said for me to do, and now what? Well, maybe that was God's way of saying, right? I'm doing this for you, not to you. I recognize everything that you put in, women. I recognize all the work you've done to help carry a culture. I recognize
and all the degrees and certifications
and
that they
all
have.
the degrees.
I would say there's so many women with so many high-level degrees. I'm thinking about Dr. Avis. She's a PhD, and she is tearing it up on TikTok with her commentary. Matter of fact, she's like a regular on Roland Martin's show, but it's something that happened to her that has made her she's been on the cover of the magazine. There's something happened to her that made when you said it happened to you, but maybe it happened for you, and it's her next pivot that she's doing.
Right, and that's the mind frame that we do with Pathfinders, right? Because often we'll think, well, why did this happen to me? I've done all the right things. Well, maybe from a spiritual sense, it didn't happen to you; it happened for you.
Yeah.
Right. If you're a Christian and you believe in a God where He just wants good things for His children, right? Only good thing. I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope in a future. If those promises are true, then He didn't plan for any harm for you, right? Maybe that was the only way you were going to leave that 6-figure job to get the 7-figure job, right? Maybe there was something else that was coming down, along the way. Maybe in this year of Jubilee, He has a bigger plan for you, right? Because you've done all the right things. It's just hard when we try to script it, right? The way we script it is, it's no pain in what we script, right? I'm gonna be the hero, but I'm not getting hit, right? I'm gonna be the hero, but I'm not gonna stumble. Well, that's not how it works, right? Without a little pain, we seldom learn.
That's true.
Along the way, we seldom have a story. And the hurt and the pain leads for the best story along the way.
Brian says, Troy is 100% right. I've always had a connector strength. He is. And I remember a couple of people you introduced me to, Brian, one being YB, but connector strength, and wish I had someone like you, Troy, talking about Troy, earlier in my career to idea and cultivate it. And it's enough to really know it, but then to cultivate it. And that's what you do as an executive coach, to really help ID that what people have on the inside of them and to cultivate it so that it grows and they can have a hope in a future and prosper in that. So thank you, Brian. Thank you. That is one of the things that I want people to really understand, that it's not about the what we do, but who we are. That's really more important.
Ooh, that's a soundbite.
It really is.
Hashtag right there, right?
It is, because I want people to feel like you are not your job. You are not your job, because you can go. I remember when I started my company, and I didn't really realize it was quote unquote, I was just doing things for people and they were paying me, right? I didn't really realize it was a business. I thought it was a freelance or whatever they called it way back in the late 90s. And I realized at that point that, hey, I'm providing a service for people who really see my skills and gifts. And so you can make a living, you can have a business and do a career with things that you love and passionate about. You do need to cultivate it. You do need to know what you're doing, but at the very least, know that you don't have to be at the beck and call of a company and a corporate, what they call it, golden handcuffs, because you're the person on the inside. Wherever you go, you're bringing that light. So I want people to understand that. And this book right here that Troy wrote, Faith at the Intersections, will allow you just to sit still with yourself, stop scrolling and just sit still and actually go through and do the questions and do the workbook information, because it's something that is going to be your future. We can go through and just try to compare and see, follow what other people are trying to do, but it's your life is mapped out the way God wants you to map it out, but He wants you to sit still to really understand What is it about your life, your family, your friends, your money, your health, your work, all these things that are important to you? Where do they fit in? So that I want to say that. And
Yeah.
clarity is key. Clarity is key. It is so, so important. Don't walk around life confused.
Yeah,
Please.
clarity is important. I have some good friends that have used the book, and they're in Houston, and one has a nonprofit, and they meet at Alex Middle School once a week. And Alex Middle School is a school in Houston where there'll be a lot of troubled youth. And he said that what he's found, walking them through faith at the intersections, is that the book is a one-stop shop, right? It is literally a one-stop shop, as the study guides are in there, the facilitation guides are in there. It is a step-by-step process of how to engage as a leader, and how to engage anyone from kids to the adults, right? When I say kids, it can be 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, as they're all coming to these intersections in their lives. And one of the stories that he told me was that there was a kid, he had gotten in a fight that afternoon, right? And he was in trouble, right? Because he had some priors. He said, but during the Bible study that evening, they talked about coming to the intersection where the light is yellow and you have to proceed with caution. And the kid shared how that impacted him, because he kept running through intersections, right? While looking back at past pain, at past trauma. All right. Instead of slowing down and cautiously maneuvering life, which in layman's terms, right? The pain and the trauma that he had was causing him to keep moving no matter who was in the way, right? He felt like he had somewhere to go and something to do with no direction. And the facilitator said that getting to that intersection of the yellow light, the kid said it helped him to recognize that he needed to slow down. He needed to reframe, right? Because he wasn't looking at life with the right perspective. And as a kid that's been running since he was 6 months old, I understand the opportunity to slow down and breathe, and to notice what's going on around you. And that's what the book does. It's a great facilitation book, whether you're going to use it for your Bible study, for your church, or whether you're going to use it for something, with the youth. The stories are easy to engage in. There's a stopgap measure. There's steps for each one. There's a way to pray. There's a way to meditate. So it gives you a lot of tools, right? And I think that's important. It gives you a lot of tools to be able to facilitate moving forward. Because telling someone just to pray, well, pray is gonna be okay. Yeah, pray is all good. But what about the same bad habits? Yeah, what about the same bad habits I've been having, right? How do I fix that? You need some steps. And the book gives you steps, right, that you can slowly begin to initiate. And so does Pathfinder as well. Yeah.
And people can also use it in corporate. I mean, if
that's right.
When I was in a nonprofit, we would do a study. We would do like book clubs before work. And we would just take a half an hour. It helped with the team to kind of gel together, but it also, the book itself was a personal development book. It was like a leadership training book. So that's really like the main thing, leadership training. So I think Monet is going to like bring up the publication now, but really I want to just the method goes over 5 pillars. I just want to say this really, really quick. Resonance, design, becoming, integration, and momentum. And that you've got to go inside to read more about it. But the cover of this, tell us a little bit about this bridge in the background here. Where is that from?
So I live in Baton Rouge, right? And that's the bridge of the Mississippi River. Fun fact that I'll share with you. So, I-10 runs from California, to Florida. There's one place in the country where it gets down to one lane, and that's across that bridge. That's across that bridge.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So if you're on a Friday afternoon, I'd say come through early or come through real late. and I think it's appropriate as it gives you an opportunity to slow down. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And you're a bridge builder too.
I am a bridge builder.
Yeah,
that's right. That's
I
right.
saw that. When you did the program with the Starbucks, and the all in. And I said, well, you're like a bridge builder. And that was really, I felt that when we saw this cover, I was like, that is it. And inside this issue, obviously, we talk about being inner led and outer activated, faith focus, and financial clarity. And like I said, his company is Valora, valoraplatform.com, or you can go to troyjamesspeaks.com as well. And there's a video, I think, in the front of that as well, that you can take a view of that as well. Yeah, so that's it. On the inside here, we have a speakers. If people really want to get listed and get buying gigs, speaker match, they can scan that QR code or either go to that link. That is just a great way. It's been around for over 25 years. Speaker Match does what it just says. It matches you to speaking opportunities. That's one of the things too. And the other one, there's a video, I believe, on the front of that too, Monet, that they can watch as well. Yep, there's videos on each one of those pages. There is, I wonder, Monet, if I can show this video. We'll show it at the end. Okay, so the next page, I'm so excited about this new song that I did, this AI song that I did the other day. Front and center on the next page, you know this person here, Amanda Sapp.
Yes.
That video there is, she was interviewing you when you were at Starbucks there, I believe.
That's right.
So they can watch that as well. She is, how did you meet Amanda, or how did you all come to know each other?
Yeah, so I met Amanda at Bread of Life through All In, right? So we started All In New Orleans in 2020, and of course it branched out to Houston, where the Houston team did a fantastic job. I've been connected to Bread of Life and Pastor Rudy Rasmus since 2003, and
so
that really.
Explain what Bread of Life is. People are thinking, like, is it a real?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. So Bread of Life is one of the homeless outreaches that they have at St. John's United Methodist downtown. And what they do is they feed people. It is just that they literally feed people. And once a week or twice a week, they'll give away tens of thousands of pounds of food, right? Of cars that come in and drive. And they will load your trunk up with food stuff at a time where people are literally parked there 24 hours in advance.
Wow.
Because of the food needs. And Bread of Life started out just giving meals in the afternoon, right, for people that were homeless and hungry. It's always been a ministry to support the unhoused, and that's where I learned to serve. So that's where I met Amanda. Amanda actually did one of the first interviews I ever had was done by Amanda Sapp, and I'm so grateful for her. And also received the Congressional Medal of Service from Barbara Lee before she passed away. So it's always been a very special place for me in my formation and who I am. And I still do Bible study there every day, right, on the internet.
And then the thing of it is, the Bread of Life is a part of their it's a radio station. It's the outreach of Pastor Rudy's ministry, basically.
Yeah. Which is Pastor Tiffany now, right? Pastor Tiffany. Right. Yeah, because it's Pastor Rudy and Juanita Emeritus, as they've been able to take a break, but they certainly formed the ministry, and they've touched a lot of lives, and impacted a lot of people to do the same. Fantastic humans that come out of that church, and Amanda and Pastor Rudy, them are one of them.
Yeah, and I just want people to understand too that speakers, the reason why Black Speakers Network and even like Speakers Magazine, really uplifting, helping our community. The market is shifting. People need our voices. People need our service. They need our skills. So people like you, people like Amanda, they are making a difference. So it's not just speaking just to, oh, I want to be seen, but speaking for impact. And that's really what I talk about on the publisher's page, about how your voice matter. And now it's time to really use it. And we are the feet and the hands of Jesus, as they say in the church. So we got and the voice, right? So those are the things that I really want people to understand why we do what we do, and especially in the African American community. The next page, because April was Financial Literacy Month, we talk a little bit about money. And so Dexter B. Jenkins is a pastor out of Boston and he wrote a book review on Dr. Willie Jolly, who is a licensed minister who's also been on the cover. So both these guys have been on the cover of the magazine, but really Willie's new book, he's a Hall of Fame speaker. If you're not familiar with him, get this book, Rich is Good, Wealthy is Better. And it really talks about mindset. I will say that we're going to be doing a special event with Dexter, Willie Jolly, Dennis Kimbrough, and 7 other more that I can't say all the names, on the 28th of April. It's a seminar live at 5, and we'll be talking and we're going through the book, and we'll be talking about financial, we'll talk about real estate. We have Dr. Wendy Labatt. We're going just a lot of different people that talks about money moves in 2026. So that right there is really, for people to understand how to get a better handle on their money. Dr. Rudy Rasmus, we talked about, I'll let you kind of like give a little intro about who Rudy is to you.
Yeah. Besides for a mentor, a friend, he is an earth mover. Yeah. Right. And the founder of St. John's Downtown, as it is now. It was a church before, but he and Pastor Juanita founded it as a place to meet the need, individual needs of people at their core. Right. It was definitely the church for the unchurched, and it continues to be that, and that's the foundation he's always laid. Come as you are, just come. Yeah. Come to church. Right. Yeah. And that's him. Just come to church. We're all sinners here. We're trying to get better. We're trying to get better. And what was great in the example that he has lived, that I've seen, that they've shown, right, is where your dollars are going, because you can see it in the lines out front every day. Wow. When people need a meal. You can see it in the housing that's been built. You can see it in the lines on Pastor Rudy's face and Pastor Juanita's face, as they've come to places where they've needed more resources, and it's been tough to get, and they fought the good fight, steadfast. So they're definitely examples of what service truly is, service and faith. And he happens to be the pastor of a couple of famous people. You want to name who they are? Well, I have sat in the church with Beyonce and with Solange, and long time ago, and right next to us was someone sitting in there that was on House, right? So it was literally a church where celebrities people. So just people, right? People wanting Christ, right? People wanting Christ, yeah. So Tina knows as well that is a part of that as well. So yeah, it's Pastor Rudy is pretty remarkable. I did a couple of his book launches, as well as Pastor Juanita's book launch as well, called Learning to Be, which is really her testimony as well. But it's a great book. So Dr. Rudy Rasmus, thank you so much for your service. You are still doing things. He's still cooking up stuff. Well, he's still cooking up stuff. So, he's not going to sit still for too long. So, yeah. So even though he's not pastoring every Sunday, he's still got a lot of things that he's doing in the community. Still serving. Still serving. Yeah. So leadership that holds under pressure is the next one, that your center spread, that really kind of gives people a little bit more about that they can go and actually go to Valora platform and actually do the assessment, to kind of tell them what they're going to see when they go to Valora platform. They can read the story here, but really kind of give them what they're going to find when they go to your site. Yeah. So when you go to Valora platform, you'll find a couple of things. You'll find out a little bit more about who I am and what we do. You even might find a speech or two that I've given at one time. But the other thing that you'll find out about Pathfinder, right? And you'll recognize the steps of what it is, which is a structured leadership reset. Right, as we continue to help leaders identify where their identity has fused with outcomes, and we clarify who they are independent of performance, right? And then we give the steps of how to rebuild, how they make decisions and lead, and how they can operate from a foundation of their truth, right, and not who someone expects them to be. Right. So you'll find the step-by-step process. You'll see that there's also a Pathfinder assessment, right?
Good.
Alignment assessment, right? It'll take you 5 minutes where
Okay.
you go in and we take a look at your four core domains. What is your voice? What is your role? Right? What is your frequency? Right?
Mhm.
How do you carry yourself? And where you may be out of line in the process. It'll take a quick 5 minutes. I would ask anyone, if you have an opportunity, go online, take the assessment, and give us a call. Right, we'll be able to speak to you about the results that you've seen, and you'll begin to recognize that through the no fault of your own, you're not the only person that's trying to navigate um, the challenges of that comes from this change space that we've been in since 2020. Right,
Mhm.
there is a psychology of change, right, that we're all working with, and at its core, the psychology of change is it's about the one tension: my desire for growth versus my desire for safety.
Yeah.
Right, and we help you work through that.
I love that. I love that. So they can actually go to Troy James Speaks, go to the site as well,
That's right.
and take that assessment. And that's one of the things too. And it will be good too if you get the link, send it to, if you're working in corporate, send it to some of your team members and things like that. And all of you take the assessment and then discuss it. And then get Troy on the phone, and he'll see if maybe you do executive group coaching as well.
Yeah, we do executive group coaching. We do workshops. We do one-on-one, because
Yeah.
the difference between our work, right, is that we believe that individual alignment is the input and team coherence is the output. So
Mhm.
you don't build an aligned team by working on the team. We believe you build it by working on the people inside of it, the people inside of the system.
Yeah.
Right. And then when we do that, then you can create a shared structure for those aligned individuals to operate within it together. Too often we're trying to fix systems. Systems are fine. People need the help now.
Right.
Right. The people need to work. And then when you start working on people, you can recognize that, oh, my system has always been okay. Right. We just have to get everyone aligned for fitting inside of the structure. And
Mhm.
that's what we do. So whether it's individuals or whether it's your teams, we can do a 6 hour workshop for you and your team, where we will have their personal assessments of who they are, and how that aligns to your team core, to your businesses, strategy, core values, and mission statement. It's all supposed to tie. It all ties together, and I'm sure that's something natural for Brian, right? Who sees strategy and structures and things like that as it all ladders to something.
Mhm.
And if we sign up to work for a company or for a business, right, it's okay that there are systems and processes. Our goal should be to be the best that we can inside of it. But I think where we've gotten a little off as a society and as a business culture is that we forget to work on the people and we keep trying to refine the systems.
That is
Right.
so good. That is so good. There's
Mhm.
someone in this issue too that I want you to meet. He is actually in Louisiana as well. Next page, Monet, you can see Dr. Antoine Jasmine. I believe he is he think he said about 40 minutes from you.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is what they call an urban prophet, talking about clarity and leadership and faith. And it's just not a coincidence that you all are in the same issue. So I want to definitely make sure that you meet him as well. Area code 504. So if you kind of know that, that's like in that area. But he is the one that really talks about really, you know, to entrepreneurs, leaders, those that really want to understand a little bit more about clarity and getting more strategy from a ministry or prophetic uh, kind of perspective. So Jasmine, Dr. Jasmine is that kind of person. So I definitely want to make sure that you all talk about and connect, and also to Willie Jolly as well. Dr. Willie Jolly is the NSA Hall of Fame speaker. This is just one of his books. His first few books are, how to have a comeback from a setback, or how to have yeah,
Like that.
yeah, yeah. So that has always been his main message, because how he got into speaking was not because he wanted to always be a speaker. He was actually a recording artist. He was a singer. He actually was doing music. and he was singing, and he was singing in a lot of different clubs and bars and things like that. And then all of a sudden, he tells a story that he got replaced by a karaoke machine.
Was that the first AI?
Yeah, yeah,
Was he the first AI replacement, the
yeah.
karaoke
Yeah,
machine?
yeah, he was
Oh
like
man.
replaced by karaoke, and so he had to find something else to do, and so one of the things that he did was while he was looking for work, is he went to go speak to some kids and motivate kids, and he felt alive at that point, and he has been going strong ever since. He's one of the best speaking mentors out there. He's mentored so many different people who are Hall of Fame speakers. Is it Dr. Delatoro McNeil, uh, uh, Simon Bailey? I can name all of them, but he has mentored them all. And so uh, he's in this issue as well. So get his book if you have not, it will change your life. Like I said, April is Financial Literacy Month, so we want to make sure that people got that. His phone number is down there, and it is a real phone number. So he is not a person that is unreachable. He definitely wants to be reachable. The next person that we've been talking about, him, his ears were probably burning, talking about Brian. And Brian is really, really big on systems and people, but he talks about beyond the fee, building financial security as a professional speaker. Please, for those that are part of Black Speakers Network, you need to read this. Okay, it's beyond the fee. So you want to make sure that you are uh, listening to Brian, and also to go to blackspeakersnetwork.com. But he talks about how you can have diversified strategies in order to bring in money. So some of it could be merch, those kind of things. But what he was saying is that you have to plan so you don't have feast or famine in your income. And so he just really talks about how to have financial goals as a speaker, whether you are doing diversification, strategic financial planning, goals setting. Brian talks about that in this article as well. Dr. Catherine Jones happens to be a good friend with Dr. Jasmine, Antoine Jasmine. So those two are together. And again, they have a gift, a prophetic gift as well, but helping people discover their destiny. And again, this issue is really all about so that you can have clarity. You can have a clear path, taking the Pathfinder assessment, going to Troy's website, maybe getting in touch with Catherine, getting in touch with Antoine. It is no reason for you to not be where you need to be, whether it is financially, spiritually, professionally. All of this is in this particular issue. You can go to speakersmagazine.com. It is free to read. If you want to get a hard copy, obviously we have those as well, but you definitely want to make sure that you take this and connect with the people in the magazine. Follow them all over the internet. Follow them on Instagram. Follow them on LinkedIn, which is one of our favorite places, LinkedIn. So yes, definitely make for sure that you do that, because it is I would say there's one conversation or one connection that can really change your life. So you really want to make sure that you're taking advantage of that. The next person, Dr. Catherine Jones, she's also part of Ready, Set, Go Speak program as well. So I really enjoy that. And then Money Making Conversations. This is a master class. It's a podcast. If you've not listened to that, it's Rashawn McDonald. He was our Speak, Sell, Shine Mentor of the Year. We had him there this past October in Washington, D.C., but he is just blowing up. I can't even keep up with Rashawn. If you go on his TikTok, he has a little passion that just has blown up, and he's a baker. He loves to cook. First it started baking, okay, because he helped put Steve Harvey on the map. Okay, I'll just say that out there. He and Steve Harvey are really good friends. So Steve Harvey challenged him to bake a cake, and he did. It was great. And then from there, we're talking like probably over 10 years ago, his TikTok has grown up of him baking all kind of stuff. I mean, now it's like he's doing chili. He did the other day, he did liver and onions. I'm like, Rashawn, really? You are cooking all this, and how he has his suit and tie on right now. He's cooking all the time in that same kind of suit and tie. I was like, how you not have an apron on and you just anyway, Rashawn has a studio in Atlanta. He helps produce movies. He helped produce the Think Like a Man, but Think Like a Man, Act Like a Woman, or Act Like a Woman, whatever that movie was, the Steve Harvey in. He put that together. He helped put together the deal with Steve Harvey to doing the Family Feud. So he's the brain behind a lot of brands. He works with Stephen A. Smith, and there's a movie out that he kind of had something to do with Keith Sweat. So he does a lot. He's the mentor of the year because he is approachable. He is approachable. And if he invites all the people on Speak Sell Shine, a few of them have been on his money making conversation masterclass. Definitely, Troy, you're going to be on there as well. But he loves talking and digging deep into what makes people tick, and then helping them live out their brand in a big way. And that's what he did for Steve Harvey and so many others as well. The Speak Sell Shine, that's coming up in October. We're taking applications for that. You can go to speaksellshine.com. And then the last page, we always try to give a little preview of events that are coming up. Really big, important to especially Texas, I guess, too. Juneteenth is coming up, and that is going to be juneteenthlegacy.com. She is looking for speakers. It's going to be held in Tulsa this year, so you can go to juneteenthlegacy.com, apply to be a speaker. At JJ Conway, that's who that is. She's a visionary and the host of this event. So if you would like to speak at Juneteenth, obviously it has to do with it's an economic summit. So that's one of the things that JJ, she's going to be part of the Making Money Moves too in April 28th as well. So she's really big. Just a quick story. She was, I think, over $1 million in debt after she got out of the Army. She was a lieutenant colonel, physics, and her husband at the time ran up a whole lot of debt while she was in the Army, and she had $1 million and got divorced. And long story short, she overcame it, got out of debt. Now she's showing other people how to do that as well. So that's a little bit about the story about JJ. But if you want to be one of her speakers, she is taking applications. You can interview with her on juneteenthlegacy.com. So that is it. I think we are almost like in good time, Troy. Let's go back to the cover.
Good.
Yeah, let's go back to the cover, or just up to the, thank you. Yeah. So we are really good. We covered everything. Be inner led and outer activated with faith, focus, and financial clarity. Speakers Magazine is so glad to have you on the cover and to really lead this conversation. That's really what you did. You led the whole conversation. You set the tone and the theme of this particular issue. So I just really thank you a lot for really coming on today. And any final words before we kind of wrap up today that we like to share? Oh, and I want to share that last song too before we go out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Disruption is often going to precede resonance, right? It's often going to precede resonance. So that's your opportunity to slow down and recognize that it's time that is the time for you to take a deep breath, right? And you'll see that a healthy you is formed. It's not declared. Mm-hmm. And it starts from that resonance. So I look forward to work with many of you. Hit us up at valoraplatform.com. You can reach me at Troy James Speaks. You can definitely get Speakers Magazine for a show. Thank you so much for all that you do for the culture and for everyone out here that's trying to get the message out. Thank you.
Yeah, that is really good. Troy, thank you so much for joining us today and really writing the book as well that people need to get and share. Do it as a study with a group of you, like as a book club kind of study as well. So make sure that you connect. People can connect with you at troyjamesspeaks.com. Obviously, they can book you to speak. That's where they go. Absolutely. And thank you, Black Speakers Network, for all that you do as well for us to really make sure that we are networking together and that we're getting out there and getting known. So with that, there you go. BlackSpeakersNetwork.com. Join. All righty. Thank you so much. Thank you, Monet. And I'm Pam Perry, and I am out.
Are you ready to elevate your speaking career and be a part of a movement that amplifies Black voices? Speakers Magazine is your go-to resource, highlighting top speakers, industry insights, and strategies to take your platform to the next level. Subscribe today and unlock the blueprint for speaker success. Visit www.speakersmagazine.com, the #1 magazine for Black speakers. Subscribe now and start your journey to success. Amplify your voice. Subscribe today.